Hey, if y'all can hear me, we'll be on in just a second. You know how these technical difficulties work. So we're trying to get Lauren piped in, but her webcam's not working. So we'll be on in just a second. Y'all calm down. It'll be a good show. Hopefully we can get her in on video, but I'm working these details out. Ba-da-da-da. Trying to get her to come in via Facebook, but I can't seem to freaking call her. I want to Facebook. Oh, something just happened. She's in somewhere. Oh, she got in. I see her. I don't see a picture yet.
I don't know why it's not working.
Oh, Lauren, can you hear me? Oh, we see your pretty picture. You're okay. You're live right now, by the way. Can you hear me?
Oh, you're live. Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect. No, you're fine. We can see your pretty picture. That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, even though your camera's not working, everybody's in here. So, hey, so I don't even know if I say this right. It's Lauren Scharf, right?
No, it's Lauren Scharf.
Scharf. Okay. Scharf. Yeah. Scharf. So, hey, thanks for joining me today on your own time. I need to put this disclaimer out there for corporate. Lauren is here on her own time. She's not necessarily representing Fox 21, but she is a Fox 21 reporter, and I don't want to take that away from her. You can find her on Twitter at her Twitter handle, which is Lauren Scharf TV on Twitter. So you can find her there and you can follow her there. Lauren, you've been covering this Suzanne Morphew case kind of since it started, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And tell me a little bit about yourself. How'd you get into the news and get into the, being a reporter and stuff like that?
Well, I just kind of fell in love with it in high school, just kind of being, someone who would go out and look into stories around the community and then get to inform my friends and stuff in high school. And then I went to school in Arkansas at Harding University, went there for soccer. I played 4 years there for soccer. And then I also loved the broadcasting program there. I got to be hands-on from a freshman. And then after college or during college, I actually interned in Denver at Channel 7 during the Aurora Theater shooting that summer. So I got to experience that firsthand. And then my last semester, my senior year, I also interned at a station, Channel 7 KTV in Little Rock, Arkansas. And then after college, I went to Nebraska and worked there for 3 years. Then after Nebraska, I went to Huntsville, Alabama and worked there for 2 years. And I was like ready to get home to Colorado. That's where I grew up. I grew up in Superior, Colorado. And now I'm here in Colorado Springs.
Nice. And I first met you during the Patrick Frazee case. I kind of remember we were at, I think the first time, hey, General, my dog's barking. I think I met you at Bronco Billy's, actually. You were getting lunch at one of the breaks. It's kind of the first time I spoke with you. Mm-hmm. And you covered the Patrick Frazee case. Hey, General, be quiet. Don't you see I'm trying to have a podcast here? And you covered that Patrick Frazee case and kind of went through that trial, sat through that stuff, and covered that for Fox. But then this Suzanne Morphew case has come up, and you've definitely been on top of it. You've been out there, and you've had the opportunity to actually speak with some family members and law enforcement, obviously, as well as a couple other people that are close to this case. Mm-hmm. Recently, did you have a conversation with the sheriff recently?
No, well, it wasn't the sheriff. It was the CBI spokesperson.
Okay, so like the public information officer for CBI?
Yeah, so whenever we try to talk to the sheriff at the Chaffee County Sheriff's Office, they just kind of point us in the direction of Susan Medina, and she's the CBI spokesperson. And so I gave her a list of 10 questions, and she came back with me finally yesterday with the answers to some of those questions.
So what were some of those questions that you asked her?
Well, I understand that this is an open investigation and there's, a lot of questions they can't answer. And so I was trying to find questions that they could answer. a lot of people have asked me, is it safe to go on bike rides or hiking in that area? Is because of Barry Morphew kind of leading people to believe that she was abducted, and his 25-second video that he had released pre-recorded of his plea to whoever has her to bring her back, no questions asked, however much money. And so I asked her, is it safe to go on bike rides? And her response to that was, we've heard no specific information that should cause alarm to community members. So I thought that was one of the most interesting things that she responded to my questions. My other questions, I'll just go down the list of the questions.
Perfect.
Responses ones. And I haven't released this at all yet. So you're the first one.
Awesome. I love it.
I said, was the 3-day search location a prior job site of Barry Morphew? And she said, part of the investigation. I kind of figured that. Okay. Then I said, when was the search warrant issued for the job site? And she said, the warrant is sealed. I figured that as well. When was the search warrant issued for Morphew's home? Was it May 10th from the beginning? Because that's what we've been told. That's, when we saw the tape around the house. And she said, the warrant is sealed. I said, when is the last time anyone saw Suzanne? Because that's, usually typically when someone is missing, they say the person was last seen at this location wearing this and giving as much detail as you can. And she said, it's part of the investigation, but that's why we're actively seeking tips from citizens. Perhaps someone has seen her more recently than previously thought. That is the response to that question. And then my next question is, when is the last time anyone spoke with Suzanne? And she goes, part of the investigation, but that's why we're actively seeking tips from citizens. Perhaps someone has spoken with her more recently than previously thought. So pretty much the same answer.
Yeah.
As the sheriff's office started looking at the camera footage that they requested, I thought that they could answer this, but of course they couldn't. They just said part of the investigation.
Yeah.
Why was there no description of Suzanne's height, weight, and what she was last wearing, etc.? And she goes, pictures of Suzanne has been shared across the nation through the sheriff's office social media. In addition to local, state, and national media, she is also entered in NCIC as a missing person, where height, age, weight, etc. are listed for national access by law enforcement. And I had asked her previously, I had noticed that it wasn't on the federal missing persons website. Suzanne Morphew wasn't. And she couldn't answer me why that was. And she asked me, have you reached out to the FBI? And so it seems like she's strictly on the state level.
Okay.
So what is the description of the bike? The family has said it was recovered. What was the condition of the bike found in and location? And again, she just said the sheriff was asked this question at the news conference, and he did not confirm this information. So those are the questions I thought she could answer. I also asked her, as of Monday, was there a search, a targeted search, an independent search of any kind? And she said no updates today. Investigators continue to follow up on the more than 400 tips received.
Okay.
So it seems like there hasn't been a targeted search since they were looking at that construction site off County Road 105.
Gotcha. So not a ton of answers. And obviously during an open investigation, that's kind of what you get. I would think that some of those I thought they would release like at the time when they got the search warrants. I would think that wasn't real prudent, but I understand what their answers are on that. What are your thoughts after, you have been talked to Barry's uncle? I believe that to be right. You did an interview with Barry's uncle. You did an interview with the fire chief, and then obviously law enforcement. I know you can't give your. This is just. Remember, you're off the clock right now, so you could give your opinion. What is your opinion on this case? What do you think's going on with what's happened?
With so much time that has gone on since day one of her reportedly missing. And there hasn't been like a big meeting of some sort of like, let's go out and search for her, you know, like there hasn't been asking for volunteers and things like that, which, you know, with the Gannon story, there was a lot of people searching for him. And then, you know, with Kelsey Barrett as well. And so that's interesting to me. And there's been so much time that's passed now. And I think it's also interesting from the get-go, you know, day one, they immediately got the tracker dogs out. I thought that was very interesting. I don't know if that means they saw something at the house when they looked for her at the house or around the home that made them believe that they, you know, immediately need to start searching. I'm trying to think of what else I can.
Have you been able to clear up whether? So, kind of the rumor is, and there's still some. We're still trying to figure it out. She was reported missing on Mother's Day, is what we understand. And was that report made by the neighbor or was that report made by the daughters?
Yeah, so I'm sure you've seen that recent video with Barry kind of off the cuff, you know, not pre-recorded video of, you know, someone asking him questions about that day.
Yeah.
The sheriff's office keep telling us the neighbor reported him.
Okay.
But in that, when I looked back at that video of him, you know, Barry answering questions to that, you know, person, I think his name was Tyson. What was his name? Tyson?
Yes.
Yeah. That he kind of, it made it seem like he was the one that pushed it to call 911. At least that's my understanding. But again, the sheriff's office has repeatedly said it was a neighbor who reported her missing.
And then I think I was talking to you about this, or it was maybe another reporter, but you could correct me if I'm wrong. You spoke with the public information officer after Barry released the 30-second little clip, and as far as we know, the sheriff's department and CBI, they didn't know that clip was going out. Is that correct?
Yeah, one of my colleagues actually.
Okay.
It wasn't me, but one of my colleagues who works the weekends. She was the one that first saw the video and called them immediately and kind of was like, "Hey, do you have a response to this? Do you have a comment about this video?" And it was like, from what she had told me, they did not know about the video at all.
Okay.
And we're shocked. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was one of those things that Barry kind of put out, and it wasn't in collaboration or in conjunction with something the sheriff's department asked him to do.
Yeah,
is kind of the understanding of it. Talk to me about like this area. You know, I think this area can be people don't understand that this is mountains. This is Colorado, Salida, Maysville. This is what like quintessential Colorado is. And I don't know if it was you again or if it was someone else, but there are a lot of, people go to the mountains to hide, get away. And there's some shady areas even in these mountains with some shady folks.
Yeah. So when I spoke with Chaffee County Fire Chief Robert Bertram, he's told me it's common for people to go missing in this area because there's a ton of 14ers and people like to visit in the area. But he was saying it was very uncommon for people that are locals to go missing.
Okay.
And he said this was very different. It hit home for him and his department because it was one of his own volunteer firefighters' wives to go missing. And then just from me being in the area, I grew up here in Colorado. I've been to the mountains many times. I've been to Salida many times. And I didn't realize that Maysville, there's not a lot of cell service there. And so when I needed to send information on Twitter or even just to call my TV station back in that area, I had to go up like a hill or, keep driving until I could find service. And so I thought that was really interesting in the area, just it's very woodsy, so I would describe it as that.
Yeah.
And
Were you
those
able?
homes, oh,
Oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that the homes, you know, people think, oh, maybe it's a cul-de-sac that they live in. No, it is very remote. Those people that live in that area, it's a lot of rental properties, vacation homes, retirement houses. There's even an RV park nearby. And so it's very spread out. I mean, you can't throw a rock. You possibly could, but if you really have a good arm, but you can't throw a rock to your neighbor like a typical, you know, neighborhood could.
Yeah, it's kind of, and everything's kind of I mean, even the houses are in thick woods, so you can't like see your neighbor even if they are a little close.
Uh-huh.
Um, you know, with these kind of situations, a missing mom on Mother's Day, it made national news, international news. There was a reward out for 210. Oh, we have video. She's
I
like,
figured it out.
you figured it out. We're
Yeah.
live. Awesome. It's
I'll
good to
just-
see your pretty face.
Oh, thanks.
So, yeah, with this whole thing, this thing made national news. It was all over. And obviously, we're in the middle of this COVID-19. We were in the middle of this like lockdown, COVID-19 shutdown. And it kind of, you know, came into the news cycle and made that. But now with the protests and all things kind of had died out. And even I haven't seen any newer stories running in the traditional media. Social media has definitely run wild with the groups and the stories about Suzanne's case. But as this goes on, do you see this entering back into a news media cycle? As you know, as just your professional opinion working for news stations, is this something that'll come back in if it just continues the way it is, or is there going to have to be some breaking thing in the case to bring it back into the news media?
I mean, I think it definitely will be in the news. I don't think it's going to go away. I think it would be helpful if one of the family members, like the daughters or even Barry himself, would take questions from the media or from anyone, you know, and answer some unknown questions that keep spurring some of this rumors, you know, online. I've even had to, you know, take some time, you know, to squash some of the rumors as far as, you know, a possible body that was found that was near the home. I had to, you know, reach out to CBI and the sheriff's office to confirm or deny that. And it wasn't, you know, that wasn't true. I just think investigators are working. I don't think they're not working, especially with what's going on in nationally. I think they're continuing to work on this case. They need time. You know, even with Gannon's story and Frazie's story, it took months, you know, to name a suspect, to arrest a suspect, and things like that. So I don't think, even if it's not in the media, it doesn't mean that it's not being looked at, if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. Hey, so you watched Tyson's video and you watched that little off the cuff. I don't know what they call it. They called it like somebody called it inadvertent, or kind of a shady recording. It was, you know, Barry didn't necessarily know he was being recorded. What did you think of what was happening? Because it sounded like Barry again was kind of pushing the narrative of abduction. Something happened on this bicycle. He did talk about some wildlife stuff, but you were at some of the press conferences and you've heard the sheriff's office respond that they didn't believe it was a wildlife attack. But
Yeah.
it still sounded like Barry was kind of, hey, this is a possibility of a mountain lion attack. Or he even said in that video, and I don't know if you've heard this report, that a law enforcement agent says a mountain lion walked by the car. Had you heard any of that?
I had not heard about a mountain lion specifically walking by a vehicle. I know that there's mountain lions in that area. I mean, it's a wildlife area. You know, it's very.
So you were born and raised here, right?
I wasn't born here.
Okay, gotcha.
But I grew up here. Yeah.
You grew up here, and
yeah.
you spent time. Have you spent time in the woods?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a mountain lion? Have you ever seen a mountain lion?
Not in nature. No.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. That's the one thing that I was trying to be clear with people. Like, there are people that live here their whole life and they know mountain lions are all around them. But to see one in nature is kind of a rarity. And then I don't know if people know this, but there has only been 3 deaths, I believe, in Colorado from mountain lion attacks. There have been mountain lion attacks, but I think there have only been 3 reported deaths for mountain lion attacks in the state of Colorado. I found it interesting that those narratives were still kind of being talked about. And the one thing that you've already said, but I want to be clear for the internet, is that law enforcement has not confirmed the bicycle. That's correct, right? It's only been confirmed from the family. Law enforcement has never come out and said, yes, we found her bicycle.
I thought it was interesting in the video with Tyson, where he was about to describe how the bike was found.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it changes into the Chaffee County sheriffs messed it up. Like they, all these people were touching the bike and brought it up. And, it was like he was putting blame on the Chaffee County, but he was about to describe the bike and then cut himself off as far as how the bike was found. And the Chaffee County fire chief, he's the one that told me when he was first alerted to it, which was Monday morning at like 6 a.m. about her going missing. He told me that they had told him that she was missing and that the bike was found in a ravine. And so I don't know if that's the specific one that, Barry was pointing to Tyson or not. But that's a ravine if, off the side of the road. I did think it was interesting. The 3 theories that I had heard from Barry from that video was that 1, the mountain lion attack. 2nd was hit by a car and then swept into the river. That was the first time I had ever heard of that theory. And then of course the abduction.
Yeah, it's a crazy deal. And in this day and age and at this particular time, right? It's not just normal time. We weren't in a normal time where, everybody's normal travel, people are going out everywhere. There was a little bit of a shutdown, a seclusion, and even Salida was literally, the restaurants were shut down until that very day that I was there. That I went to a restaurant in downtown Salida the day that they were doing that search, and that was the first day they had opened. And so normal travel was kind of shut down at this time. And then for a woman to just go vanishing in 2020 and not be heard of, seen, and not really any answers is a strange thing. And so for me, I try to keep an open mind. I try to look at Barry and say, he says he was in Denver. He kind of explained that story, but there is a lot of questions why he's saying one thing and then information that's coming from law enforcement is different. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I did think he obviously from the video, the recent video with Tyson and Barry, it was obvious that Barry was upset with law enforcement. He had mentioned multiple times, they're not telling me about the article of the article of Suzanne's that they had found on Thursday. They wouldn't disclose that information to him, which, rightfully so. Usually in those cases, they wouldn't. And it just seemed like he was kind of upset with law enforcement as to because she hasn't been found, or I don't know why he would be upset. But what was the question? No, I can't remember. I
probably didn't have a question in there. Hey, so that is weird to me because it seems like if they said they found an article and he doesn't know what it is, who would be able to confirm that article was hers? Like to me, it would seem like they would go to the family and go, is this her shirt? Is this her pants? Is there her purse?
It could be something obvious that,
an
like
ID,
a cell phone,
or
a cell phone, or even an ID or something that, is obvious that it is Suzanne Morphew's.
Have you heard anything about her cell phone? If her cell phone has been found or anything like that? They haven't mentioned any of that.
No, they haven't, which is, that's so important to have cell phone, the data that's on a cell phone, when it was last pinged, when it was last used, things like that. That's super important during an investigation. But Chaffee County sheriffs have not disclosed any of that. If they have the phone, or if they know, if that was the place of article that they found, So
when you were at the search area there in Salida, were you able to talk with any of the neighbors around that actual house or that foundation that they were searching?
yeah, so I did speak with one gentleman who he lives, I guess, either across the street or nearby, neighbors to the home that they were searching. And he said, oh, well, that, you guys were here today, but they were here yesterday. So, and then also he told me that his wife actually worked with Suzanne. I guess Suzanne was a substitute preschool teacher in Salida.
Okay.
And so that's what he told me, is that his wife worked with Suzanne and thought she was really sweet, and that was pretty much it, and he was actually going on a bike ride when we spoke with him with his son. So it's like, when I was there in Salida, I saw probably 6 bikers just in the few hours that I was there. That there's tons of biking trails around, even in Salida. So there's a ton of avid bikers there.
Yeah, and again, this area where she was at isn't like, it is a remote area, but I mean, it's on the Colorado Trail. It's a very popular biking area. It's a very popular area for hikers, and there's parking for people to actually park and hit the trailheads and stuff like that. And so I haven't heard any response, and obviously we probably wouldn't if there was some actually information that was taken to law enforcement. But have you heard of any tips coming in about that area? Have there been people that have gone to law enforcement and said, hey, yeah, we saw this vehicle there, but nobody's actually confirmed that they saw her there, or at least they haven't confirmed that to us?
Yeah, so one of my colleagues at Fox 31 in Denver, he had interviewed a gentleman. I don't know exactly what day it was, but he had, I guess, been in the area where possibly Suzanne would have biked and saw a suspicious vehicle. My question is, what makes a vehicle suspicious? What was it that he thought that vehicle was suspicious? So I don't know if it was just out of place or something, like a certain type of work vehicle or something that was out of place for the area. I don't know exactly what he meant by a suspicious vehicle, but again, that was one of my colleagues at Fox 31. He is the one who interviewed him, so I didn't get to personally talk to that person. As far as someone seeing her, I have not heard that. I'm sure, the sheriff's office has tried as many, they're asking as many people to bring in tips and things like that. So maybe they have heard someone say, oh, I did see her go on a bike, but it seemed like, from when I spoke with the Chaffee County fire chief, and then also our TV station asked the Chaffee County sheriff, is there a bike area in the area that she always took on a Sunday, or all they could respond was, she's an avid biker.
Gotcha.
So they couldn't tell us, oh, she takes this route every Sunday, so that's all we could get out of the Chaffee County sheriff.
Gotcha.
In regards to
Have you been able to, or your colleagues, verify that were there cameras on their house? Are there cameras, a security system on their house?
So every time we ask, the Chaffee County sheriff about surveillance video, ring video, any type of video as far as the home goes, they won't tell us. They just say it's part of the investigation. It's an open investigation. They are looking. They do tell us they are looking at all possibilities. But as far as a name of a suspect, they have not named a suspect at all.
Well, and they are still officially treating this as just a missing persons case. This hasn't been like, but again, in my opinion, you don't dig up a foundation on a house looking for a missing person. You're looking for something different. You're following up on a tip. Maybe a tip from maybe the owners, maybe a tip from just a random person, but they obviously dug up a foundation and cut concrete looking for something. And in my opinion, that's not like, hey, we're just looking for a missing person,
Yeah, that's not when you hear of a missing person, it's usually as many people out searching the woods or, the neighborhood or whatever to find that person. So them digging up a home is not typical. that are
Yeah.
missing.
And people go missing all the time. People do, like you said, people go missing in the mountains. Some people vanished. I think I just saw a case that just opened up. They indicted up in Denver on a guy. His girlfriend's been missing for a while, and they just arrested him on some stuff. But on this kind of thing, and the fact that they released the house back to Barry, it's not abnormal that they could still be looking at Barry as a suspect, just like they did with Patrick. They searched his house, they released it back to him for a couple of days, and then all of a sudden they went out and arrested him. I don't know if Barry is a suspect that the sheriff's department is looking at, but we would hope that they're again. We want answers. Everybody wants answers. We want to know where Suzanne's at. She's obviously captivated the hearts of people around the world, just in her case in this scenario. But do you think we're going to get answers? Do you feel like they are getting somewhere, even in your conversations when they can't tell you what they can't tell you? Do you read into that at all?
I mean, someone just doesn't disappear. There has to be a reason why someone disappeared. And whether evidence will show that, or someone will slip up and say something, that will lead to another piece of evidence or things like that. So I don't think this is going to go away. I think they're going to get to the bottom of it, honestly. And I hope they'll get to it sooner than later, because I can't imagine what the family, those daughters are dealing with, to not have, their mother. They're young. They're one's in college and one's 16 or something like that. They're very young to not have their mother. So I can't imagine what the family's been going through. And I do want to say I've reached out to her side of the family. I've reached out to a ton of members of his side of the family. Her side of the family have told me that they have been told not to talk, not to do interviews. They tell me that Suzanne is true. She was a beautiful woman inside and out. And they just are keeping, they are appreciative of the immense work that the law enforcement is doing. They say, if you have any questions, they're just referring to them. And they also asked me not to reach out to Suzanne's father, who's 87. So he's the only parent alive still of Suzanne. So if people are wondering, why isn't Suzanne's family speaking? It sounds like they've been instructed not to talk.
Yeah, and that makes sense. It is weird that Barry would do a little interview on the side of the road with a total stranger, even if he didn't know he was being recorded. I thought that to be interesting, and that he's actually speaking out, because I'm sure if they've told Suzanne's family not to speak, I would think they had said the same thing to Barry. It's a strange situation. It's definitely captivated the hearts of people. How does it make you feel? Like when you sat through and heard some of the things in the Patrick Frazee case? I actually talked to Sam from KOAA a while back about this. What does that do to you? Like, because you heard some details and some things that even haven't been released. They haven't, that case wasn't filmed, and they didn't let cameras in the courtroom, and we didn't get to hear testimonies. How does that make you feel as a person? This thing where you're listening to stuff like this go on. What do you do to deal with what's going on?
It's hard. I mean, I try to just put, my work. That's my work, and try to come home and not think about work, and distract myself in my mind from work a lot of the time. It does get to you as a reporter. I've seen and experienced some imaginable things that people shouldn't see or hear about in your lifetime. But as far as the Frazee case goes, there were things it made me almost worry about the people that I feel I'm close to. I'm like, do I trust them? I do trust them, but it's like, wow, this woman who seems someone that would just be like me, I would, trust someone so much. And then for them to do something so evil, it's just like, oh my goodness, it's scary to think about. And
You've also been following the Gannon case, which is another
mhm.
one, like someone's stepmom, close. And that case has kind of not been put on a hold, but because of COVID, some of the court dates have
Mhm.
been postponed and stuff like that. But again, the people closest to you sometimes are the one. A lot of times in these cases, it's the people closest that are not only the victims, obviously, but the perpetrators.
I don't understand why people think they can get away with things, because truth will come out. I just think that so much. And as far as, the Gannon case, the father put so much trust in his wife, and to find out, I can't imagine, his world has been flipped upside down. You sleep with that person, you wake up with them every day, you know what I mean? Like it would be so difficult. And it's just like, you just got to know who you are surrounding yourself with and trust those people. And, it's difficult. It is very difficult to cover these types of stories, but I think it's very important. And I just hope the truth will come out in this story. And I hope Suzanne will return home. It worries me that it has been so long. Each passing day, you wonder what happened, where is she, what is she, things like that. So,
Yeah, because in a sense, we haven't got any, like the whole scene of the bike and stuff all of a sudden puts this, she's not okay. It's not like a woman just vanished and ran away from her life or her family.
mhm,
There
mhm,
is some evidence that says, oh, there was some foul play. There's something that happened. Whether or not that story and that scenario is true, been planted, whatever, it still says something happened. It's not like she
mhm.
was unhappy and just vanished. And so,
And I
yeah,
do want to point out, like, learning from what Frazee, sitting in the courtroom and hearing investigators kind of take me through and take the courtroom through from day one. How did they start investigating this case? And it was really interesting to find out that if someone's reported missing, they go into the house and look to see, as far as, is there anything in the house that leaves them to believe that the person went on their own accord. And it sounds like Suzanne Morphew did not go on her own accord. She,
yeah,
there wasn't a note or anything that we know of that, and then from the court case out of Frazee. And then they talked about, what piece of articles of clothing or things that she had left behind that would help them with their investigation. And also those pieces of clothing helps the dog trackers, and other investigators search the area for her and things like that and lead them to evidence.
yeah.
So
And in Suzanne's case, they have used dogs. They did bring dogs out, correct? That isn't a
immediately, yeah,
rumor. They had dogs out there immediately,
immediately, yeah.
but it didn't sound like the dogs led them in any certain way.
I mean, they wouldn't tell us, the dogs
Yeah,
sniffed to the left,
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
they wouldn't tell us that. But they just said that they still have not located Suzanne, and they, are still searching for her.
And
So,
then, some people say, well, we think they found Suzanne and they're holding that information back. I have said law enforcement very seldom would hold that information
no.
back and continue to lead the public into saying she's a missing person. So, I mean, I just want to kind of squash that. Like, and this to be true. Law enforcement's not just going to blatantly lie to the public about information. If they say they haven't found Suzanne, they probably haven't found Suzanne.
I mean,
And
they do have to take into account, they have to tell the closest family relatives, hey, we found her,
yeah.
obviously. And then it's going to be, okay, let's inform the media. But it's not like they're going to hold this information from us. Not at all. I mean, I think they would tell us immediately.
What do you think about like this new movement? Because it's a relatively new movement here in the last couple of years about the social media side and the social media aspect in these cases. And you've seen this stuff happen. You've watched the social media pages and the groups and all that stuff, and people are retweeting your comments. And a lot of times, like with the Frazee case, the whole damn case was told on Twitter. Like that's how we got our information, was from Twitter reports and stuff. What do you think about this movement, and how do you think it's good and bad?
That's a good question. I mean, with the Gannon story and that the affidavit was leaked online, that was a big issue. And as a journalist, we don't want to jeopardize the case at all. And when I first saw it, I immediately texted my boss and, how do we go about covering this? Some stations, they went with the, online, but we waited, until the courts, officially released it. It was only like less than, I don't know, 24. It was 24 hours since I saw it online, that then the courts released it. But it can hurt an investigation if there is false information that's been put out. It can hurt the individuals close to the case, very much so. And so I think people need to be very careful as what they share online and say it's fact. Don't say it's fact if it's not fact. If it's a theory, say it's my opinion. I think that's important to have that line as far as I am told this and this is fact, or versus this is my opinion and this is my theory, because I don't think the Morphew family is online. I don't think they're reading everything online. I think they're stepping back from social media. I know that Barry Morphew's deleted his Facebook. A lot of the daughters have put their Instagram on private and things like that. But as far as, I think also social media does help in cases as far as, were you here at this point, as far as were you on a bike ride and did you see Suzanne? And social media can get the word out as far as a missing person goes. It can be shared, and her information and her picture can be shared so quickly that it could get the information that's really pertinent for the case out as quickly as possible. I think that's helpful. And then people can, ask. It's easy as a journalist, a reporter, to contact family members because most of them have Facebook or Twitter or some sort of social media account that I can reach out to them. And not in such I know in earlier days of journalism, you had to literally go to their house and knock on their door and be very in their face. And now it's like they can think on their emails, like they'll read our emails or they'll read our comments, and they can think on it and sit on it for a couple of days and then get back to us. And they can formulate what they want to say. And it's a better way to try to get answers instead of, having to go to their house and get answers, or call them on the phone, things like that. So I want people to be careful what they say on social media. I don't think the Morphew family is reading a lot of things online. So, but just, don't say something is fact unless you really know it's fact, because I've had to, confirm things or deny things because of what's been circulating on social media. People freak out, if someone says, oh, there was a body found, or, oh, someone's been arrested, or, things like that. So I just definitely want people to know things for a fact before sharing them.
What do you think about Dad with a phone?
You're so nice. I do have to give you props. When I was out there by myself and doing live shots, you helped me set up my camera. So I really appreciate it.
There
And
you
you helped me find a better location to see, what was going on at that search construction site area. So I appreciate you.
I always wonder what people, especially reporters, and I talked to a couple of you guys either via Twitter or, text or whatever, but I always kind of wonder because I'm not a reporter, I'm not a journalist, I don't follow the same rules. I even got you to come through like 2 private property signs that you were worried about.
I know. I stayed on public property though.
You stayed on public property. Some of the other reporters did not.
They did not.
Just so everybody knows. And then I had fans show up too, like drive up while you were out there. And that kind of was a little weird for me even, but the people are engulfed in these true crime cases, maybe because of Netflix, maybe because everybody's been involved in true crime for a while. The media's done it. We've formulated a whole series about it, and people now just have the opportunity to do it online. Right now, we're talking out of my living room and your living room, and people from all over the world are watching. This is something new. You used to have a TV truck to do this, and so as the world is changing, the news and the media is changing. We're seeing that even with the stuff that's going around, quickly.
Oh, absolutely. It's been helpful as far as, if someone snaps a picture of it looks like a huge group of investigators are searching an area, they'll send pictures to me and I'm like, oh wow, I'm going to confirm this and I didn't even know about this. It's difficult because Salida and Maysville is 2.5 hours from Colorado Springs, or 2 hours from Colorado Springs, and so it takes us a while to get down there. And also, even the CBI spokesperson told me, if we're going to have a press conference, I will give you a 3-hour heads up because it takes me 3 hours from Denver to get there. But so it is helpful for locals or, people to take pictures of something that is fishy to them or is interesting to see. And then we'll, try to get that confirmed or not.
What does your bosses think about social media and stuff like that? Do you guys have policies that you have to follow?
Obviously, we have to get everything confirmed. And we have to say who, if we tweet something out, we have to say the CBI tells us this, or the Chaffee County Sheriff's it confirms this. We can't just blurt out information and not tell people where we got it from. We're supposed to report what's going on instead of giving our own opinion or giving, obviously if we're on scene, we can describe what we see, and you just have to say, I see this, or I'm describing this, especially with the protesters. Last night it went on past midnight, but our reporters were out there just describing what was going on. So we don't have to get confirmation that that's going on, obviously, if we're out there. So, but as far as social media, I mean, it's a great tool, but it also hurts people as well. I mean, as far as misinformation goes too.
Yeah, switching subjects for a little bit. What's going on in Colorado Springs? Because that's kind of your market. That's where you cover with these protesters and stuff like that. We see a lot of stuff. What's happening with that?
So, I mean, it started in Denver. There was protests. I mean, it's all over the nation, obviously, but it was like a couple days after Denver had started protesting, Colorado Springs started, protesting as well. Saturday night, I think, was the more not violent, but chaotic protesting, I think, started Saturday night, late Saturday night. It's like all day, the protesters, they're doing peaceful protesting, right? And then when it hits nightfall and it seems like when the police kind of want to go home or when the police want streets to be cleared, it gets a little violent. I haven't heard that there's been looting downtown in Colorado Springs. I know that there is a lot of looting and destruction in Denver. I know a lot of the news vehicles across the country have been vandalized and burned and, things like that, which we're just doing our jobs. We're just telling what's going on at, the protests and things like that. So I don't know why people are doing that to news vehicles and things like that. And I know some of my friends from Harding that are journalists, they've been injured. They've been shot at by police with rubber bullets and things like that. So it's crazy times we're living in. I think people are going stir crazy with this COVID-19, and it's like these protests, some of them are wearing masks and some of them aren't. I worry about outbreaks from this, more people getting together in large groups and things like that, and getting sick from one another or whatever. But I just think
it's a crazy time to be a journalist.
It's a terrible thing what happened in Minneapolis. That's terrible. I think most law enforcement are good guys. I think, they're but it's like one bad apple ruins the whole bunch. It's like, and I think people need to just share love and kindness instead of so much hate. It's just, people don't realize what other people are going through. I'm going on a soapbox, so I need to stop.
You don't have to stop. This is good. I asked you
No.
that question. Um, so what can you tell us is next with this? Going back to Suzanne's case a little bit, kind of what do you see happening? I understand there could be a break tomorrow. Police could make an arrest. You could get a phone call, and we're gonna have a press conference in 3 hours. But kind of what is your plan as a journalist that's covering this story and covering this case? What kind of do you see moving on in the future here with this case?
Yeah, so I do want to clarify. I have reached out to that construction site for a comment. The people that have that are working on that, and I've yet to hear back from them.
Okay.
I've also wanted to reach out to some of those search and rescue guys. The Chaffee County Sheriff, or Chaffee County itself, has a north and a south rescue team. So I would really love to try to get in touch with them to see if they could tell me, how did they go on searches and what did they look for, and, things like that. I think also if a family member would talk, it would progress the story a little bit more. It would, kind of help with the timeline as well of what happened that weekend. I think also it would be fantastic if the Chaffee County Sheriff would do another press conference, because he's only done one. People need to realize that he has only done one press conference where we could ask him questions live and he had to answer them live. It's all been at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. He just sends out a press release, which is, there's not new information. There might be 2 new information sentences. One is about how many tips they've gotten and if there was a search or not today and where it was. That's all we've been given. So it would be nice if the Chaffee County Sheriff would give some more information, even if it's surveillance video or something that they could, if they even had a tiny clip of her, going on a bike ride and in the area, that they could release. It would give us a little bit more information as to what she was wearing and what direction she was headed and things like that. I think if they just keep this in the media, or if they keep talking about this, something will happen. Something will come about, Yeah,
I feel like sometimes if, and it happens everywhere. Cases get, buried, ignored, or whatever. People don't know what's happening. The same thing is happening with like a lot of these cases, that there's not a lot of movement. And once investigators make an arrest, everything kind of slows down, and we're in this court system, whatever moves at a snail's pace. Lawyers are talking back and forth, stuff like that. But right now, it feels like either they know what's happening and they haven't said anything, right? Like they have an idea, they have a scenario that they're working to build evidence towards, or they just don't know anything and they're waiting for the right tip. They're waiting for the right moment, the right person to come forward and give information. The problem is like you've said, so much time has gone by. And that's a small area there, and they have posters up and they have banners up in front of Walmart. It's not like you could live you don't live in Salida and not know about Suzanne right now, and not know. So it is strange to me that there's been very little info. That one press conference, again, we had like 4 or 5 press conferences in a period of like 7 or 8 days with the Patrick Frazee case. Press conference here, mom came forward and made a plea. Again, there has been no orchestrated with the family and the sheriff's department to come forward by the family and make a plea. The plea that was made wasn't made with the sheriff's department's knowledge or orchestration. And so that is a little weird to me and a little strange. But
I think also it's just like, you think about your own family, and if this were to happen to you, and, my significant other went missing or something like that, I would be talking, on mountaintops to try to get the word out. And I understand when families are, private and things like that. But, and then for Barry to supposedly say to Tyson a threat, if you were to, you know, if this information were to get out, you know, that's scary to think about.
Well,
you know?
actually, you know, I don't know how much, if you heard it just right. And I actually talked to Tyson about it. He called me the other day while I was doing a live show, and we talked about that threat. And he, you know, Tyson says it was kind of tongue in cheek and it was kind of laughed off. But what Barry said was actually, if you're undercover media, I'm going to come after you. Like, he even said, like, because he asked him, "Are you media?" "No, I'm not media." If you're some undercover media, I'm gonna get you. That's weird, you know, and that's strange to me. I also found it interesting though that in Tyson's video, not only the one where he interviews him, he was actually there the day before, and he has pulled these videos down. I have talking to him. He has gotten threats. He has gotten, you know, crazy text messages and calls. Some of that's
Threats
his fault.
from who? Threats from who?
From what I understand, he has been contacted by Barry and by people that are associated with Barry. And so, and his exact words to me, I'll read you the damn text. It's crazy because I don't know Tyson. I didn't know who Tyson was 3 days ago, and one of my followers sent me his video. And
I just thought it was weird that he would talk to him in general. He's a total stranger, you know?
Yeah,
I mean, I understand if you're looking for your wife, you would tell everyone. But then for him to say that comment at the end, if you're undercover media, you know, I'm going to come after you or whatever, that's just really odd.
Yeah, his exact so this was after he did the interview and after he released the video.
Does he explain why he took it down?
Yeah, some shady shit went down last night. No sleep, can't discuss now. I'm not going to fuck with those guys on the hill anymore. They are killers. That's what he texted me. And then I talked to him a little bit more and we talk about some other stuff. And
that's scary.
You know, and that is scary. And that's what he told me, because I try to explain to people that when you're standing across from Barry asking him these questions, again, this same thing with Patrick Frazee. This could be an innocent man, a husband looking for his wife. He's out there, you know, whatever, searching, trying to figure out who this guy is. But then for that little bit of a threat to come your way after you've kind of had this conversation and you've told your side of the version of events that have happened that haven't been confirmed by law enforcement. The fact that law enforcement hasn't confirmed the bicycle is so strange to me, because the family came out and said it right away.
Yeah.
But yeah. And so some people thought the interview was good for Barry, and the way that he responded was a logical way to respond as a husband. Others thought it made him look way guilty, and it was a scripted story he was telling and trying to shade it this way or the other. I found it strange that he would speak with a total stranger, but yet not even take the time to, you know, if he did an interview with you or any of the media, it would be seen worldwide, and it would. But there has been cases. One case in particular where the media, I don't think, treated victims very well. And that was like the Heidi Brizard case where they interviewed Shane, her husband, down in Austin, and they like published the unedited interview, and it just made him look a little weird because he, you know, when you get in, you know, this, when people get in, it doesn't matter, when they get in front of a camera, all of a sudden something changes. You know, yeah. They can be the most innocent person. Yeah, you can be the most innocent person and you don't know how to act.
Asking people just about, you know, gas prices going up. And they talk to me without the camera on, and it's like they're perfectly fine having a conversation with me. But as soon as I turn on the camera, you know, it's they can't talk.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I've seen it for years working behind the camera as a cameraman. So I understand that. And that's what I even tried to explain on this case down in Austin, where when someone gets in front of the camera, there is something invisible that happens, right? All of a sudden something happens. So part of me understands Barry not wanting to talk with media. part of me understands that. The flip side of this, if my wife goes missing, I want everyone talking about it. I want it on every news station. I want it across. So, and again, the fact that he did say some things like, law enforcement's not telling me what's going on. Law enforcement screwed up. These are actually statements that have been made by people who would then be found guilty, you know, and so some of the statements he made are some of the same statements that people in the past have made. Law enforcement screwed up. And we know Tisha Stout said the same thing. Oh, they treated me. They tried to hold me. They did all these things. They violated my rights, all this stuff. And then come to find out this is, you know, the evidence pointed straight to her. So that does worry me. It also is strange to me that law enforcement has told unrelated. There's no way 87-year-old father is involved with Suzanne's disappearance. There's no way the people back in Indiana are involved with Suzanne's disappearance. And the fact that law enforcement has told them not to speak out tells me that, in my own opinion, law enforcement probably has an idea of what's happened, and they are building their case. That's just me kind of looking at this case like other cases, how things have gone down, watching the response from, you know, Woodland Park PD during the Frazee case and stuff like that. So, hey, thanks for taking some time today.
No problem.
I do want to put this disclaimer out once again. This is on Lauren's own time, and she's not officially representing Fox 21. Fox 21, don't get her in trouble. She did great. See, she did such a great job today. And I know it's.
If you guys want to follow the case, like, just make sure, like, as soon as I get information, I post it to Twitter and then I post it to Facebook. So
have you heard anything about a mistress officially?
I have heard that, but nothing confirmed through the Chaffee County Sheriff's Office or any of the family members either.
So that's only been social media. Nobody's actually, you haven't seen or talked to anyone who was a mistress?
No.
All right. Somebody asked that question. They kept sending me text messages going, ask her about the mistress. Ask her about the mistress.
I've heard of the mistress, but I haven't gotten that confirmed.
I'm just
any of the family or friends that I've spoke to from.
Gotcha. Again, you can find. Yeah, I was looking through these questions to see, and then you can find Lauren. Probably you do most of your updates on Twitter, right?
Twitter's like the fastest way, I feel like, to get information out, and then Facebook, and then we, you know, write up articles on Fox 21 website. If you want to look, fox21news.com, we can get information out on articles and stuff like that.
Gotcha. I don't see anything that's crazy, you know, as far as a question that we haven't kind of gone through. But again, hey, thanks for taking the time today and coming on. And, you know, I know that you're going to continue to follow this case. And if something comes up, you'll obviously be on your Twitter and your Facebook stuff. We loved your Facebook Live the other day. Awesome. Almost 20,000 views already, which is awesome. So,
I like want to keep doing those, but I don't want to do them if I don't have new information, you know. I guess I could have done one with what the answers to my questions from the CBI spokesperson, but
keep that exclusive. Keep that exclusive for Dad with a phone right now. Yeah, and I think it's great for your brand as a person and as a reporter for you to build that too, especially in this new age where you can have your own little show on your Facebook outside of the Fox 21. I know that they own some contracts and some imagery and stuff like that. So,
well, it's like if we do Facebook Live, my station, we don't get any money from it, you know, and so they kind of veer off away from doing Facebook Lives. But I think it's an easy way to answer questions live, which is nice. I just wanted to do it when I did it because there were so many rumors and speculations circulating after, you know, the search at the property and things like that. So I kind of just wanted to give the information that I had known and had confirmed and things like that out and answer any questions as I could.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. And I think even for other stories, the riots, the protests, COVID, I think all of that would be, I just encourage it just because I think it's just where we're at. and they're catching up. The news people will catch up. I know that they're trying to figure out how to monetize, and they want to make money via advertisements and clicks and all that. But I think building the brands of their reporters are good things. So we loved it as far as social media side of things. And so again, thanks for doing that. Hey, thanks for coming on. That was
Thanks
easy.
for having me.
That was an easy show and stuff.
Sorry,
so
it took me a while to get the camera to figure out.
No, and
Couldn't
the phone
figure it
worked
out.
out. It worked out great, and we got it done. So we'll talk to you later. I'm sure I'll see you around, and we'll go from there.
Okay, sounds good.
All right,
Bye.
talk to you. Bye-bye. Fun stuff, fun stuff. Hey, thanks for joining Dad with the Phone today. Listen, I try to bring you information that you can take it for what it is. Lauren is someone who gets paid to do what she does. She's a professional. She goes out. She's boots on the ground, like I like to say it. She comes from the traditional media side of things, but also has embraced answering questions and engaging on social media, which makes her a little different than some of the other reporters. We have seen this with a few other reporters, and I think those are the best ones. These are real people doing their job. And just because I don't trust traditional media doesn't mean I don't trust the reporters that I've shaken hands with, had conversations outside of social media, had conversations while we were there on the scene at the search stuff. So I bring these people on not because I think that they have some sort of information that I can't find out. This is their profession, and they take a look at it in a different way. It also gives them the ability to share with you more than just a 90-second clip on the news, more than just a 30-second edited down story. She's able to tell you more about what she has seen and it's kind of a longer form way to get the story out there. So I've had a couple of news reporters on. We'll continue to have reporters on as cases build and cases go different way, because for some reason, you guys still you trust these people. You trust reporters like Lauren. And although I may not trust traditional media, I too trust people like Lauren who do this. So thanks for joining Dad with a Phone. I hope this was a good podcast for you, and that maybe you have taken something away from it. We're going to continue to cover the Suzanne Morphew case and bring you as much up-to-date, accurate information as we can. We will still speculate. We will still talk about theories. We will still look in different directions, but we try to be open and honest with you. And I'm just a dad with a phone. Here's one of my real kids.
And that's my brother.
Tell everybody to hit that like and subscribe button, girl.
Hit that like and subscribe.
Tell them to go to the links at the bottom of the page.
Go to the links at the bottom of the page.
All right, we'll see you guys later. Dad with a Phone will be back, I'm sure, sometime today talking about some nonsense or something.
And I almost said cage.
What?
And I almost said cage.
All right. We'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for joining.